Thank you very much for joining me today on the Freedom Driven Landscaper podcast brought to you by the Lucrative Landscaping book. I'm really happy to be having you here today, Derek. Would you please tell me a little bit about your business and your journey building it so far?
Yeah. I'm Deric Wolf. I'm the owner of JD Curving, outdoor contractor. Um, we started out 8 years ago as strictly just decorative concrete landscape edging. And it's kind of just grown from there. I did it for 5 years or so with a full time job, and then started a family now and have three kids, and kind of just it's my passion, and now it's grown into we're a full outdoor contractor, full landscape projects, and start to finish. So it's going really good.
Nice. Wow. Okay. So what what caught your eye about the curbing when you first got started there? Why curbing and not everything else you could do, you know?
Well, so it wasn't, I always wanted to be in the construction field. It was uh, kind of my niche. I loved it, running the equipment and everything like that. And then I caught myself. I worked in a steel mill for 7 years, and a friend of mine and I actually bought some equipment to do our own curbing. It wasn't well known in our area, and kind of wanted to do our own home. So we just bought a couple of guys out of all their equipment to do our own. And then we were just going to sell the equipment. And then as we started playing with it, kind of just wound up rolling into a business, and
Hmm.
it kind of went from there.
Did you say you cut yourself? Did I hear that properly?
No.
Okay.
No, sorry. No.
You
It,
didn't
we
wanna
just,
do the you didn't wanna work in the steel mill anymore, so you're starting to test out some other things you could do.
yeah. So I was just, always wanted to be an entrepreneur and self employed. And, they kind of took this and ran with it. And like I
Okay.
said, it's grown and grown in the last 8 years. And now we're a full landscape contractor,
Yeah.
so it's fun.
So, when you first how much around did it cost to get started with the Kirby? I'm just trying to get a feel for, like, where you were at and what, because there's a lot of guys who, well, as you know, this industry has tons of people who are considering getting into it, so it's always fun to talk about that beginning of your story and what that was like, but then we'll get off of it and talk more about the your experience that you've had since then. But just curious,
Yeah.
when you were just getting started, was it really expensive to buy the gear? And then how did you get your
Um,
first clients after that?
so we kind of, we just had a lot of friends and family that were interested as well. So, we
Mm,
kind of cut them breaks and went and did their places to get the feel for it and learn it. And then kind of caught on from that. And when I wanted to grow, we, my wife and I actually went to some trainings in other states, and here in the past, earlier this year, we were invited out to Colorado to a special event, owners only, with 12 other companies. That was a private event. No one knew about other than the 12 companies invited. So that was cool. But starting out, we found a guy, just his landscape company grew and he was getting out of the curbing side of it. So we kind of bought the equipment for pennies on the dollar. I mean, I think we bought our first rig with all the equipment to kind of get rolling for 5 grand. And
okay.
I mean, you can't even get close to that now. I mean, it's,
Yeah, right.
man, you're lucky if you can find anything for less than $15,000 to even get started.
Okay, well, how
So,
did
and
you find this guy back then? Was it, like, in the Yellow Pages or something, or just luck, or
Craigslist,
Yeah, yeah.
Craigslist. Yep. And then we actually found another guy who had bought all brand new equipment, invested, $50,000, and went to training and everything in Florida. And then it was unfortunate. His wife passed away from cancer and was having some hard times. So, I mean, I mean, I didn't take advantage of him, but we bought all his stuff, was basically brand new equipment for pennies on the dollar. We didn't really use it. We just bought it just to acquire it. So
Hmm, yeah,
we wound up selling that to some other people, you know, that
right.
could use it. So
Yeah. So when you, what was the do you remember sort of the moment when you thought that it would make sense? Like, maybe it was a question to ask your wife, but, like, what was the moment when you had the green light to quit the steel and go full time with the landscaping? Do you remember about what that was like? Like, was it a
so
big
I
leap,
didn't
or were you confident, or
so I actually left the steel mill and went to another company, and I was a mechanic for them for 2 years. But it allowed me more time to do the landscaping stuff.
Oh,
Um
nice.
So I was a mechanic for a garbage disposal company, and I would just start early in the morning at 3 in the morning, and I'd be done by 2 o'clock every day, and I was guaranteed every weekend off in the summer months.
Yeah.
So, and then that got to where we were growing so big that I couldn't get everything done. It was just too much. And then having a family as well. Like I said, we got 3 kids. The oldest is 4, the youngest is a year old. So it was just, I was a workaholic, and it was time for some family time too. So I was like, I didn't work this hard, and God didn't provide me with the blessings we have to give it up now. So we just took a leap and went for it. Last year was really good. Um, and so this last winter was our first winter full time on our own. It was a learning curve. It got tight at times, but we got through it. And, the beginning of spring was looking rough, and now we're moving on past here in the first 3 months of this year. We're going to be um, at the revenue we did all last year.
Okay. Wow. Nice. Yeah. And how do you account for that? How did that happen? How are you having such nice growth?
Oh man, I would say the good Lord upstairs is 90% of this, 90% of it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I really don't know. I mean, I don't do a lot of advertising. 90% of our work is word of mouth, which is good. And now, I mean, we're just overwhelmed and grown.
Hmm.
Now we're trying to find guys to work that, can start taking on more things, and we can start doing more projects at one time instead of just from, one project to one project. We can
Yeah.
start getting multiple things run.
So when people are referring you to their friends and family and neighbors, do you think that there's a particular reason why? Like there's luck involved and faith and
Um,
everything, but you must be doing something right also to be getting so many referrals.
So I stand behind my word 100%, and I'm nitpicky. I mean, I've done jobs where at the end of it, a couple days later, I didn't like it, and some of them I didn't even give the homeowners a choice. I just fixed it.
Mm,
Even if they look good, if I didn't like it, said no, that's not right. I'm not going to let my name be on that. We're going to take care of you, and this is the way we want it to be. We want our
yeah,
name to be known for you know what it is. I don't want to go in and I want people to get what they want for the money, they pay for. So,
right. Yeah,
that's
interesting.
I thrive on quality. I'll lose money, to make sure our quality is where it needs to be.
Right. Yeah, no, one of my favorite questions when I was running my little business was what level of detail are you looking for? When I was triaging leads when they first came in, and typically if they would say they're looking for high detail, that's the kind of client we were looking for. And then one of my favorite responses was like, Don't worry though, almost no matter how much detail you want, I'm gonna be more nitpicky than you are. Like, I'm just
Yeah.
wondering, like, how far should I take it with you? Like not yeah, people loved that. So that's interesting that you say that. Yeah, that's something that we use in marketing language too sometimes. It's like just saying that we're a high detail company, and then proving
Yeah.
it with the way that we follow up and all that kind of stuff. It seems like that's a
Like,
big distinguisher in our industry is like, are you the kind of person who's avoiding that responsibility, or are you the person who's taking it on head on to the point that maybe it's like detrimental almost? That's where
yeah.
it's hard to hire sometimes when you have such high standards. How
Yeah.
does
Like
Mhm.
sorry, go ahead.
No, no,
Yeah.
what
There's,
were you gonna
there's things, on job sites we all have that, you know, we know what it looks like, and we can find flaws in it. And there's many things that homeowner would never see,
Mm,
because we do it every day. So we're going to nitpick the crap out of it. But, like, we strive on none of those to be there. Just because the homeowner won't recognize it doesn't mean I'm going to leave it there. We're going to, I don't want to, because I don't want to drive past that person's house every day and be like, man, we never changed that. Hope they
yeah,
never
right.
saw it. Hope they never
Yeah.
saw it. So yeah, we're constantly, if the guy sees something, man, what do you think about this? Do you think that looks bad, or do you think they're going to notice it? I just say, if we notice it, then there's a possibility the homeowner noticing it. We're not going to leave it that way. We're gonna put it the way it needs to be.
Yeah, if you're asking, that's the answer right there, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I did a lot of landscape maintenance. We had a few hundred, clients that we looked after that. And the main thing that I was always drilling into the crews was like, look over your shoulder, like don't close the gate without like inspecting your own work. Cause it's so easy just to like blaze around and leave, you know, but it was like
Yep.
just take stop and admire your work and go back and fix one thing. Um, actually, we had it where we knew a lot of clients would watch us, so there was a little bit of a strategy that I would ask them to try to find one thing to fix before they leave every time. Even if it's I wouldn't say it's bullshit, but even if it's like very little, you know, just like go back, fix it, and then leave because we know they're watching us. So they're good. Like if we do that all the time, they're going to see us all the time coming back and fixing little things and then going, and then they'll see how much we care about the detail. Also, it was a way to get the team to actually do it. It was like making it like, you know, like it's one thing to say, take a look and see if you see anything. It's another thing to just say, find one thing, you know, and fix it. Right? Even if you don't see anything, just find something to fix to improve. But yeah, that was tough. So these days, it sounds like the biggest thing that you're working on is hiring. Is that what you were mentioning?
Yeah, I mean, we're growing. This year we're growing at a pace where we got a couple college kids and a young man that's homeschooled that they're all blessing. They're hard workers. They do a great job, but it's one of those things. When school kicks back in, we get shorthanded. So we're gonna have to finally make a plunge and get some full time help keep you around.
Mm.
So
Yeah. How is the seasonality for you in your territory?
we get about a good 7 months out of the year. So about, we can start doing stuff in April, depends upon, the weather. It's not guaranteed in April, but we got rolling here this year in April and we can go till about the end of October and we do some in the beginning of November. Then we're pretty much done
Okay.
for the winter months.
So you don't do much snow.
We do some snow. I'm not a big fan of it. I
Yeah.
I I have my thoughts about it, and I've had arguments with other people, and it doesn't matter the argument. If they want to go do snow removal and spend all the money and equipment, I know there's money to be made in it. I'm not willing to do it. I'll go
Yeah.
out and push some snow here and there, but I don't want the wear and tear and the maintenance and I want to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning. So and neither do the guys. So is it really worth getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning to go do that? So I mean it
Mm.
if times are tough and it's what we got to do, we get into it more. But
Yeah.
we have a couple accounts and contracts for snow removal, but it's just enough to keep kind of one truck moving and mini skid steer on a couple other jobs to take care of those. But it's nothing we rely on. Plus, where we're at, it gets cold, but in the last 10 years, we haven't had a snow to really, I would say, for it to be worth us to invest in having all that equipment and then watch it sit around.
Yeah.
So,
No. Yeah, no, I know I've done the same thing. What I did was we subcontracted a few hundred walkways because in Ottawa, Canada, where I'm from, they would they can't get they can't hire guys to do walkways, long story short. And so they'll hire guys in the big case tractors with the inverted blowers on the back. And
yep.
they can get them as long as they don't have to get out of the tractor. If they try to
Oh,
get them to
yeah.
get out of the tractor, they can't hire anybody. So what they do is they just upsell the walkways like crazy. Like it's way more expensive. You can get the driveway done easily, but if you want a walkway done, you really pay for it. And then they hire anybody they can to do it, but not their normal plowers because they won't do it. So we
Yeah.
took over hundreds of them. And man, the nice thing was that we had a much lower tolerance. Like we didn't have to get up in the middle of the night. If it was windy or whatever, we didn't have to do it multiple times. We could wait till everything was done and go do them because it was less, I guess, of an emergency compared to having the driveway clear and especially like the snowbank clear for for like elderly people or something if they need emergency services to come. But man, yeah, that was hard work. We did a lot of shoveling.
Yeah. We got contracted on this last winter with another company doing housing additions for a city here in our local area. So we had about 7 housing additions we had to take care of. So there wasn't much time because that we have to be designated to them.
Mm.
So we had a couple other lots and housing additions that I don't do snow blowers and I don't do shovels. So
Yeah,
if it can't be pushed with a truck, kind of like you're talking about, if it can't be pushed with a truck or, we have the small housing additions, we got a mini skid steer and it goes right down the sidewalks.
mhm,
And, if they don't want that machine doing their driveway, then we just won't do it.
yeah,
So it's,
that's like what a lot of people say, it's same thing, yeah.
but we have a lot of wet snows here. So, I mean, if we have a wet snow, the snow blower is useless.
Right,
So, and, you know, I'm not, it's the worst is shoveling the wet snow. Yeah, I mean, it's heavy, it doesn't move, it balls up, and so,
yeah.
we stick to our, bigger equipment, and if we don't have any jobs for those to run, or if the jobs are smaller, we just turn them down, we won't.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. That's what a lot of people do. It's funny, out of everybody that I speak to, they sort of love or hate winter. There's not very many in the middle who are like, yeah, we
Yeah,
operate year round. Don't Doesn't really matter to us. It's like either they have like 600 plow trucks and it's like they love it, it's all they do. They're crazy about it. And then they take it easy in the summer, or it's the other way around and they're all in on the summer and they're not into the winter. Funny how that is. Huh.
yeah, but I'd rather be in the shop or spending some extra time, in the winter months with my family, since the summer months are so busy, so, if I can stay away from the snow removal, then I'm all about that 'cause, like I said, if times are tough, then, yeah, we're gonna go for more snow removal because we're gonna have to, but, as
Yeah.
of right now, it's not worth it. We don't wanna get into it any more than what we are.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, that's the winters were when I avoided it as much as I could, same as you. I only did it when I had to. But the rest of the time, that's where I learned all the digital marketing stuff. So, because I was building out all the systems in the winter so that it would be fully automated during the summer. So that because I found that when I first started, I was doing flyers and door knockers and that kind of like high sweat equity kind of work to drum up business. But then as soon as spring hit and we got busy, all the marketing just like died. And then it was like we had this big pop because we had a bunch of marketing. Then we got busy
yeah.
and it just like drops right off. And then and it would even out through the rest of the summer with us, we were doing a lot of recurring work. So, it would keep going. But I didn't like that. So I want to be able to keep pushing through the spring, not just be in the early spring. And so what I did was I automated it all. So we had a bunch of flyers and stuff that were ready to go ahead of time. But what really worked was figuring out the Google ads, because then I was able to just like I had everything set up, everything ready to go. Like even the envelopes for the estimates and stuff were like pre-addressed and stuff like that with our return address, and everything stuffed in there, ready to go to send it out, except for the actual estimate just needed to be printed. And then
Yeah.
we would just run the ads. So then after work each day, I would just come home, like process the quote requests that came in, throw them in the envelope, send the emails, and then I could just be back out in the field again the next day. And so it was like it's so cool to be like having all this, interest kind of piling up while I was out working without having to do anything. That was the beginning. That was like 15 years ago now. Since then, I wouldn't be here talking to you now if I hadn't had those winters to start building these systems, kind of
Yeah.
brings back some
Yeah.
good ones.
Yeah. We don't, I mean, I've never gotten really into, we used to do some social media. I'm not the greatest at social media. I still have it for the business, but if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have any social media at all. I'm not tech savvy, but it did help us when we were needing to get some more work. But now, like I said, I don't even know the last time we really marketed online.
Mhm.
I mean, any ads or anything. Not saying that we shouldn't be doing it. I want to get into it. It's just, it's not my expertise. I'm going to have to have somebody do it for me, basically.
Yeah. Well, then maybe I can ask you some questions about that from your perspective. So just to dig into that a little bit, like I'm kind of curious. Uh, when you come from a perspective of not really knowing how it works, it sort of forces you to think like a really big business owner, where you're hiring people that you don't know how to do their job. And I found that I got into kind of a habit, and I still sort of am, where I think working with laborers for so long in my life, and then since then working with VAs and assistants and stuff like that online, and doing this kind of more white collar kind of work. Um, I always wanna know how to do their job better than them before they do it so that I can make sure that they do it properly. Like,
Yes.
so, like, what do you think what would be your process for hiring somebody to do this kind of digital marketing that is or even any marketing, but you were saying you weren't super tech savvy, like, how do you think that you would approach that without having the confidence in making sure that they're doing a good job? Like, did you I'm curious, like, how you think about that.
Oh man, that's a good question. So, I mean, right now when it comes to any marketing or anything, tech savvy, my wife, pretty much does the majority of that and does the stuff office wise as well. But I've kind of laid that into her hands. Um,
Mhm.
and, and, and I guess I should be a little better at asking her exactly how she does it. We got another friend that kind of takes over our website and we just send him stuff as far as changes and he does the changes for our website and everything like that. And we pay him for his time in doing so. Um, but man, that's a good question. It's something I haven't got into yet.
Yeah,
It's one of the things that has been in the back of my mind of, if we're gonna move with this, you know, social media, Google ad stuff that, I'm not the person to do it for myself. And, I used to operate at, kind of like you said, I'm gonna figure it out and learn it. So that way if I do hire somebody, well, I can tell if they're doing it right or wrong. But anymore, I realize I'm good at what I do. So I'm willing to, make an expense. The worst thing that can happen is you tell them they can't do it anymore. I can't pay you to do this anymore. It's not working out. And you find another person. It's kind of like hire and fire. If you hire somebody and they're not working out for you, then you gotta let them go because of their hindrance, and it's not working for you.
yeah, no, that's a good answer, and I think that's what most people do too, because when you see how short the average retainer is with a lot of agencies, it's like there's a lot of churn. They move pretty fast. Like really good agencies keeping their clients for like 8 months or something. It's like nothing, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's what's happening is people just test them out. They go to the sales pitch. They don't really know what's up. Like I'm kind of curious about it just because just recently just recently like so I do a lot of sort of CFO work for my client or not CFO CMO work, the marketing side of the CFO, where I'll help my clients manage their marketing on their behalf. So I'm the guy who comes in and makes sure that marketing is being held accountable. And so, just recently, I had a client ask me to vet another marketing offer that he's been seeing a bunch of ads for, to see if it would be worthwhile setting up for their business. And it looked like a pretty cool thing. And so, set up a sales call with the guy, but it was just like, I think I was his worst nightmare because I actually do know what to ask and how to check it, how to hold them accountable. And I think that he's so used to dealing with people who don't know that the call was kind of weird. Like, I'm at like, it was, yeah, I don't know how to explain it. I guess I caught him off guard. So it was kind of a strange situation of like being in a position of somebody who would normally be buying this stuff and seeing the process they would go through and seeing how different it was than what it would need to be to actually convince me to sign up. Because he's starting to do like he's already doing expectation handling, telling me not to expect results for 12 to 24 months and stuff like that. And it's just like really? It takes 2 up to 2 years to find out if this is working? Like,
Yeah, that's
okay, that's really hard to buy. Like, people buy this?
yeah,
Like, wow. And yeah, it was, the other thing too is sort of how misleading parts of his presentation were, where he had, graphs and charts and things that are that don't have sources. It's just like he's just showing like this is how much money you can make kind of thing, and it's like, okay, but like what's that based on sort of? And he hated he didn't like that question, right? But it was just yeah, it was just interesting to see that that approach must be working because it's a fairly successful company as far as I'm aware. Um but like it wasn't going to get past me for like 2 seconds, the way he was pitching it. So yeah, no, I'm trying to sort of see the difference between where you're at with when you think about this and where I'm at with how I think about it after I've been buying this stuff for 10 years now, sort of thing around.
yeah, yeah. So I've been, I bought your book and started reading it, just to kind of, learn more about somewhat of the business side of things because I thrive in going and doing the actual work. When it comes to the business side of it and how everything operates. In the office and beyond that, it's not my expertise. So I'm constantly trying to find out more information or learn new things. Not afraid to pay for an online course or something that's going to teach me more. Instead of me trying to figure it out to try and prove somebody wrong that I already knew it.
Right.
I'm past that point of my selfishness, that I'm going to be like, hey, I'm going to be a little humble here and say, I don't know how to do this. I'm going to go find, someone that can teach me, or I'm going to hire somebody, and the hiring side, it's hard, knowing what you can afford and knowing who to go to. And I think I read a little bit maybe of this in your book about the marketing side. You can hire a marketer, and are they really marketing you, or are they marketing themselves? Are they actually marketing you, or are they just taking you and marketing to other people to get more people to, you know, hire their stores?
Interesting.
Um,
Yeah. That's cool. I'm sorry, I should have known, but I didn't realize you had bought the book. That's cool to hear. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, no, that's but,
I haven't, I haven't finished it yet. Actually, I think I might be halfway through it. The last time I set it down, we got slammed, uh, crazy in the spring. And, the last I read it was on an airplane out to, Colorado Springs.
cool.
So
That's neat to hear.
yeah,
Yeah, no,
I need to pick
that's nice.
reading it because it's been good. I'm not a reader, and I've been trying to get into some books here, and I will say your book I had that's the most I've read out of a book since high school. So,
Oh my god.
but
Well, thank you very
I
much.
haven't
That's a
finished it.
big
I haven't
compliment.
finished it. I haven't finished it yet, but usually I'm not much of a reader. I'll fall asleep reading, or I won't remember what I read.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Well,
but
that's
yeah,
really
I am
cool
into
because
it.
that was the point of the book actually, is to try and help empower you to be able to buy this stuff and not get taken to the cleaners like everybody does
Yeah,
nowadays. Yeah,
yeah. There's a lot of.
yeah? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm gonna start another idea, so I'll let you,
Okay.
say what you were gonna say.
There's a lot of good content on it, and I actually recommended it to, all the other companies out in Colorado Springs when we all got together and said, "Hey, I started reading this book, it's got a lot of good content. So, if there's, people starting out trying to grow, I recommend reading this book." And I would recommend it before I even finish it. I haven't even finished it yet. So,
Well,
a
I
lot of good
really
content.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's a few more ideas that I think I'd like to add to the book. I'm thinking about adding some more to it or redoing part of it, but I think the biggest one that I've realized is that, um, business owners don't realize that they are the CMO, the chief marketing officer of their business. And the question that I always ask everybody, and I apologize to everybody listening to this who's heard me say it 100 times, is how can your marketing agency be helping you grow your business the way you want to grow it when you don't report your financial data back to them? It, like none of them ask for it, which means that none of them know what they're actually selling on behalf of their clients. So, like, if the average agency doesn't have any financial data flowing back into them from their companies, meaning they don't have access to their QuickBooks or their CRM or something like that to be able to see what of the leads we've produced are actually buying, then they can't be optimizing for sales. And if they're not optimizing for sales, what are they optimizing for? It's leads. But like that's why you always end up with this huge argument between marketing and sales where marketing is saying, "Hey, sales, you got to get better at selling." And sales is saying, "Well, marketing, the leads suck. What's going on here? How are we supposed to sell these terrible leads?" But it's because of that disconnect. And at first I was pretty upset at marketing agencies for not taking that responsibility, but I kind of realized that it's actually more of a miscommunication between the agency and the owner, where the agency thinks the owner is responsible for it, and the owner thinks the agency is responsible for it. And they never really have that conversation to actually figure that out. So you end up with like this disconnect where no, both sides think the other side's doing it, neither of them's doing it, and it's kind of just adrift. So that was like that was the craziest thing was realizing that the biggest problem I think is not that agencies aren't responsible because it for most agencies they do deliverables. They sell blogs, they sell work on your website, they sell hours of graphic design. But if you were to say, "Hey, here's our cost of acquisition, make that number go down," they're like, "That's not our job. We're doing blogs for you. What are you talking about?" Kind of. And so it's like, whose job is that, right? That's kind of the real question. And I think for 99% of the time, it's the business owner. It's their job to be making sure that what they're buying from the agencies is actually getting them their their ability to acquire clients within their target cost of acquisition, reliably. Like so, um, I guess that would be what I would add. Well, that is sort of what the book is about, I guess, already, is how to be the CMO of your business, or at least how to be aware of what that is so you can have somebody else do it. And then I could talk for days on how to actually do that. Feel free to ask me any questions on it, but I won't
Yeah,
drill down.
absolutely. Like I said, that's not. I mean, that's when it comes to CMO. I don't. That's beyond me. Like that just makes my mind do circles. But I will add in there, knowing, being an owner, you've got to know everything that's operating. You got to, you're not just on what's going on in the field, man. It's very important to know what's going on behind the scenes because that's where everything's operating. You can't operate without what's going on behind the scenes of the actual work, or else, how do you know where you're going next? You know, huge thing in that, is, you mentioned the CRM stuff, we have it, and I recommend any small business or any business doing it or using one, we use Java and, whether it be synced up, LMN, all those. I mean, that just helps you get more organized where you can open up and do more things as well. And, hopefully since we have that and it's working well for us, I can move into, looking into more of the marketing side of things or, finding someone that can take that over for us as well.
Yeah. So in your business right now, what would you say is the biggest bottleneck for like just like what's in the way of what would be the biggest thing slowing you down from being able to grow sort of at will, so to speak?
I would say finding the right person to join our team that I'm willing to let go of the job responsibilities. Just let them go without me being on every job or showing up every day on every job,
Okay.
hiring a foreman, to go and do, what I'm doing in the field that opened me up, a couple days a week, because I don't ever want to get out of working in the field. I don't want to grow my business to where I'm in the office or driving around in a truck all day. I want to be in the field. It's what I love to do. So I don't want to ever get away from that. But finding somebody that can take over quite a bit for me so that I do have some time opened up because, I have lost some work because we're behind or, we're scheduled out too far, which isn't a bad thing. But, we do lose some work from that because people want things now. They want it tomorrow. And, they don't understand. You should have been planning, 3 months ago at the beginning of spring, but, I don't want to lose that work. I want to, get as much of our work out there and do as much as we can.
Yeah, I just spoke about that at length the other day on another podcast where he was forget how far he was saying they booked out, but they have 2 crews. They have like an emergency crew that can do small jobs quickly. So like if you need all your color replaced for a last minute party or something like that, they can send this crew out to redo your beds. Or but then I think that their main crew for their, like, bigger installs, they're booked out pretty far. I think it was, like, 3 or 6 months or something like that. How far out are you typically booking?
So I will say, like, man, the good Lord's provided for us this year. It was crazy. We went from, spring, we didn't have much at all really booked. We were kind of waiting for the phone to ring to where, man, the phone was ringing off the hook and I went, got another phone because I got sick of carrying that phone. So, it's a good problem to have, but it was overwhelming. And like I said, we've grown this year, twice what we were last year. And it's awesome, but it's, one of those things where I need to do my research and investing in time and finding the right fit to our company so that we can keep growing. Because right now, without that extra, two guys or men, we're kind of holding ourselves back a little bit.
Right.
There's fear behind that too, and it's hard getting beyond that fear. Of what we make it if we add, one, two more guys to the team. What we make it if we bring one, two guys on full time, keep trying to keep them 5 months out of the year that there's no work coming in.
Mm. Yeah. when you think about your company structure and wanting to be in the field, it sounds like you'd make a really good like operations manager. Are you do you do you want to be the CEO, or is that something that your wife would do? Does she want to do that, or where are you at with that?
She's oh man, I don't. I mean, I love running the guys, you know, making sure they're organized, making sure everyone's moving and being productive. I love production. I like getting things done as fast as we can, as long as the quality's there first, you know.
Yeah, you're
But
an operations manager.
you know,
Yeah,
I'm blessed with I'm blessed with the three guys, you know, I have right now. They're amazing young men, and you know, they deserve more than what I give them, more than what I tell them on a daily basis that a good job they're doing, because they're all great young men, and you know, it's if I could have three more of them and have them full time, man, it would be amazing because they're great. Love working alongside of them. Um, they have a lot of self respect. They give me a lot of respect. And it's just a good relationship all the way around. Um, you know, we get to talk open about daily life, you know, personal things. You know, no one's banging their heads against each other. You know, it's a good relationship between all four of us right now. And you know, if we could keep growing that way and get some guys just like them, you know, to stay on full time, and then we can keep growing, it'd be amazing.
yeah, right. Because I can see how a lot of what I think about is how to solve exactly where you're at. You know, it's you get to this point, sort of, or tell me if I'm right. Actually, is it? Do you feel sort of as if you're? It's starting to rain. Let me know if it's noisy. But
Fine. I wish it would rain. It hasn't rained here for like 2 months. So
okay, yeah, it's been pouring here. I've been in Mexico City here for a while, but uh, do you sort of feel as if you are so busy that it's hard to grow? Do you know what I mean? It's like because you're sort of I heard you sort of mentioning that if you had a little bit more time, then you'd be able to like get things going so much more. Like how would you
oh,
describe? Yeah,
absolutely. So you know, right now we work 4 10s. And then, you know, I try not to work weekends. This weekend, last couple of weekends, it's been unfortunate. I've had to do some stuff to get some things done, but the guys work 4 10s, and then that opens Friday up for me to go look at work, bid work, and try and get all that stuff done. So, you know, since I'm still on the job sites with the guys that I get to be with on Monday through Thursday, and they seem to like it. You know, it tends for longer days, so some days we're tired, and you know, it gets old, but you know, they like having a 3-day weekend, and that gives me a little more time to figure out what we're doing growth wise. And, you know, it'd be great if we could get to another crew and still I like 4 10s as well. Um,
I did that too. I
but
did it. Yeah,
yeah, it's great. And it's hard, you know, rain days if we need it for a makeup day that we're scheduled it's scheduled out so much for me to go look at work on Fridays. It's hard to, you know, it's hard to reschedule 8 jobs that I go look at on a Friday because we need a makeup day on that Friday. But
yeah.
that's why that Saturday we just, you know, wind up working on a Saturday. Uh, man, I don't know if I can really answer that question 100%.
No, it's just
Um,
a thought, just something to think to
yeah.
climb on. Yeah. Would you ever consider joining a franchise or something like that to be able to delegate the office more so that you wouldn't have to worry about the time
To
for that?
be honest, I don't know if I would do that. I don't know. I'm not sure. I never really thought about it. Never had the opportunity arise. Um, I really like knowing that. I mean, this may sound a little selfish. I like knowing our name um, was built by us. You know, our work has our name behind it.
I don't think that's
Um,
selfish. I'll let you continue before I share, but I don't think it's too selfish.
you know, I don't. You know, if I'm going to go work for, uh, if I'm going to join a franchise, you know, I don't want to be brought down because somebody else that's a part of the franchise might not have the same quality, you know, I want or want to keep. Um, so not
Yeah.
saying that would happen, but right now I like where we're at. So
Yeah.
you know,
No, that's
if it
interesting.
ever turned out, I wouldn't be interested in it, but never had the opportunity arise and don't know much about it. But I like where we're at right now.
Yeah. No, that's interesting because I had a podcast just the other day where somebody was saying that he's planning on joining a franchise and that it's the only way kind of thing. Like, there's no better option than that. And it really got me thinking, like, what's the truth to that? There is absolutely truth to it. The guy's not crazy at all. But I think that it really kind of comes down to the branding of the franchise relative to the branding that you want to be building your business around. And if it's not perfectly aligned, then it's not going to make sense. So I think that if you're not just branding, because when I say branding, in my mind I mean like the goodwill that your company is building and the reputation that it has locally and that. And with a franchise, like you say, typically for most franchises that I'm aware of, you kind of wind up being kind of lumped into this national entity sort of. And maybe you have local Google reviews or something like that. But other than that, it's not really, I guess it's not really your mark on the world. I don't know. I'm having trouble explaining it, but it's like, I kind of believe that a lot of people get into these businesses because they think that they can have a more positive impact on the people around them and their family and themselves and their clients than if they're just a cog in a wheel in a bigger thing as an employee. And that same kind of idea seems to extend to the idea of franchises, where it's like it's like if you don't have full control over your ability to do that, and then also your name isn't on it, then I don't know if you have as much of an ability of making that positive mark. But I don't know. It's a real kind of philosophical debate that could probably go both ways. But it's something I've been thinking about a lot lately.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like I said, never had that opportunity arise. I'm not saying I'd be against it, but I'd
Yeah.
be
Well,
willing
there
to
there
see.
are there are ones available too. The buy-in is probably, from what I understand, like around $20,000. There's a few different ones that you can join up, and they help run the business. But yeah, I think, I don't know if they reach out to you or if you reach out to them, but yeah, I'm not trying to push you in any way either.
No,
I'm
no,
just
no, no,
curious
no.
about it. And also, full disclosure, I used to be a franchisor a long time ago, for student businesses.
Okay.
So it's something that I've thought about a lot, where it's like, if I think that there's a sweet spot for a lot of guys, and it's sort of why I bring it up with you, because you mentioned not wanting to be in the field and not really loving the office stuff so much is sort of what I was picking up. And that seems to be a really good spot for a lot of franchisees, because they basically just manage the office and let you run the field. So because like when I ran my franchisees, it was student businesses, so it was even more extreme example of like, these guys were never gonna they weren't gonna run very good businesses on their own. I mean, especially being students, right? They only had a couple months to figure out, get the business started, and make enough money to be able to pay for school the next year. So if they didn't have the franchise opportunity, I don't know if they would have been possible for them to do that at all, to figure it out. Because I had already done it for a good 5 years, and I showed them everything I learned and all that. So I wonder that for a lot of people in our industry, if a franchise would be better for them, or not. And I think I don't think there's any easy answer to it at all. But there might be something there if you're trying to not do the back office, and wanting to
Yeah,
lean more on the
but,
operations side.
there's definitely, everybody operates different. So if it's a benefit for you, I would say jump ship and go for it.
Yeah.
I said at this time right now, I like our growth. I like our brand.
Mhm.
Uh,
It's
I like
interesting you
where
say
we're,
jump ship, because I can totally relate with you there. It's like,
yeah,
you're really giving up a lot when you give up your name, and I can't quite put my finger on why. Because I don't something in my heart doesn't say that it's just pure selfishness. There's something more to it,
yeah, yeah. You know, our work is built around our name now, or our name's built around our work.
right.
Um, so that's how we get more work. And that's why I said, I don't do a lot of social media or marketing online at all. It's definitely something I want our business to get into doing more of, but that's not my expertise. Um, Definitely in the last year have gotten into more office work and, especially getting down into the nitty gritty of, knowing your numbers and constantly checking your numbers. And, it's hard because the bigger you get to, the more your costs of everything go up. So your work becomes more expensive, but it's not a bad thing either. We went from, being cheap on this stuff, and then we were getting cheap jobs. Uh, Now knowing making sure we're knowing our numbers and making sure our numbers are right. We're going from, 80 years ago doing an $850 job was like, oh, this is awesome. Now we're doing jobs that are $80,000 and up, and it's pretty crazy, but the work's there. You just got to be willing to follow yourself and keep up on yourself and how everything's operate, because you can fall behind it. If you fall behind on the management side and the office side, it's hard to grow. It's not my expertise. My wife's a blessing. I love her to death. She's jumped in the office more and more. We made a thing a couple months ago where I get her up at 5 o'clock in the morning with me, and we're in the office for 2 hours in the morning together. It's
I
not
did the
that way
same
anymore.
thing. I know how that is.
Since
It's what you're
since
saying
since
way a lot of my story. It's great. Yeah,
yeah, since we
have the
switched
same
to
story.
since we switched to 410s here, earlier this year, um, that's backed off some of our office time together, but it's worked for us, and it's great because we constantly get to check up on each other, make sure things are going good. And she gets to check up on me on all the things I fall behind on that, would become a disaster for her.
Right.
Um, yeah, it's working good. Like I said, I don't know about the franchise thing right now. I like, you know, I like our name. I like where we're at, and don't know if I'd be willing to jump ship away from that right now.
No, yeah, and I think that's important. I think that I think that's
Like I would,
that's
I,
mean
I
a
would
lot
say
for
if
you.
it was kind of like the snow removal, if it was do or die and we were struggling, then yeah, I
Right.
might jump ship. But then that put a little fear in me. Like, why am I going to jump ship? That means I guess I would almost be like telling myself I'm not good enough, right? I'm
Mm,
not doing anything right, so I need some help.
yeah.
In a sort of way. Not saying that a franchise, you know, isn't beneficial, because I don't, like I said, I don't know much about it. And it's probably
Yeah.
great on the business side and the management side of things.
I think maybe I don't know either, but, I think I think it depends, but I think it can be a little bit more expensive, so you might have a little bit less profit, but it'll make things a little bit more predictable. So I think that's sort of the trade-off is like you have a bit more stability, um, you have it and you have more support, obviously, and it costs. There's a cost involved, otherwise they wouldn't offer that. But I guess that's the trade-off is like, is it worth the cost to have a bit more stability and to have the peer group and the support and to be able to delegate parts of it that you maybe don't want to do. But if it's stuff that you like to do or that you're good at and you have a strong brand and you don't want to give up the profit, then all that is a pretty good reason not to do it. So yeah, thanks for debating that through with me a little bit. I've been really trying to wrap my mind around it.
There's actually a company we're working with right now. I would say it's not a franchise we're joining, but it's a company that, wants to work with us to sell their product, and we're going to be installing their product. But it's not, so we would definitely use their name a lot, but
Yeah,
it's nothing we're buying into. And, we're not,
right.
we are going to be installing their product, but it's not, joining them. So, we're going to advertise their name,
Yeah,
but
more
just
of a
sell their
partnership.
product. And more of
Yeah,
a partnership. So, I mean, yeah, like I said, we're always, it's crazy. I never would have thought we would have grown to where we are now, moving away from the landscape edging, the concrete edging side. But,
mm,
um, like I said, that's still the majority of what we do. But our growth here in the last, year has been amazing.
yeah,
So not afraid for new things. Like I said, it's not something I would turn down right away. Stuff like that. I'm always looking into new things. You can always say no.
yeah,
But, if you don't know anything about it, why would you say no without finding out first?
yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, that's a good way to think about it. What's your vision for the next 4 or 5 years now that you've proven to yourself that you can do this?
oh man, it's, I just, I don't want to say I want to become huge. I want to have, a good crew going that I can walk away from. I can go on vacation and the business still runs. Um, because right now, if I go on vacation, and it'd be hard to let it go, you know, and without calling them every day and making sure they're doing this, doing that, how's things going. When I go on vacation, I want to go on vacation. So if I could get the business to where a crew can go and do, and I can trust their work and quality is what our name stands behind. That'd be great. That'd
Yeah.
be great.
Well, I'm pretty sure you're gonna do it. It sounds like you're
Like,
definitely on the right path.
yeah, we're definitely, my wife and I have talked more and more here in the last 2 weeks about, finding that right fit and starting to look for that full time hire. Um, it's hard right now. It's hard finding, you know, workers, everything. It seems like everywhere you go, if you do put some, we've had a couple guys in the past that I would love to keep full time, but it's almost like one of those things. You're basically training on them for them to go off on their own. Um, Not that that's a bad thing, and it's for anybody that wants to do what I'm doing every day. It's just hard to invest in that person, if you already know right out of the gate that, they're not in it 100%.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
you know,
And then it's hard for them to be in it 100% when it's just out of the gate, right? Like it's
yeah, yeah. So it's hard. It's hard finding that right fit. I can't remember if I had my notes from when I was out in Colorado that there was a landscape uh, contractor that came in and talked to us about hiring, and he had a formula, and it was really cool. His formula, and I don't have it on me. I wish I could share it. It
what's
was,
the
it was
idea?
he had I can't think of them. There's three letters, and they stood for something.
Oh, it
And
was like a strategy for
yeah,
what to look
a
for?
strategy of, if the when you're doing an interview, if that person wasn't all three of those, then you need to move on to the next one. Because
Yeah.
just because he's one of the three doesn't mean you could make him be all three after you
Right.
hire him.
Right.
You know, if you want to grow, the person had to have all three of these things. You
Yeah.
know, to give them a shot. If all three weren't there, then you move on to the next interview, the next contestant.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to do it. I think hiring, especially like the bigger companies, guys with 50 employees or whatever who have to be hiring all the time because there's always somebody quitting or whatever. They kind of it starts to turn into more of like a revolving door sort of, where um they're doing interviews every week. They have a time slot, like there's a meeting time every week and people show up to the shop or whatever and they're just constantly interviewing people. And I think that is really the ultimate goal, even if you're looking for one person up front. I think what's worked the best for the smaller businesses with fewer employees like yours who are getting into hiring more often. It's like rather than thinking of it as a one-time thing, starting to think of it more as a thing that never ends and getting good at it, right? Hiring a good employee is like scoring a goal. We don't just do it once and the game's over. We're just gonna keep running drills and working on scoring those goals and keep getting better and better and better at hiring. And then that puts businesses into a position where they know that they can replace somebody if they need to. And then that also sends the signal to all the employees that they're replaceable if it needs to. And then that seems to be like almost a tipping point between businesses that are confident in hiring and businesses that are I wouldn't say confident in hiring, but like some companies you talk to, they're like, yeah, we have no problem with staff, and then other companies we talk to, they're saying like, yo, it's really hard to find people. And the biggest difference between the two seems to be just reps. Like it's so boring and obvious, but it seems to be reps. So like maybe that would be an idea for you would be for like rather than thinking of finding that one foreman, like sure, that's the dream, like the ultimate goal for sure. But in the meantime, it's like, how do we hire like three mediocre foremen along the way before we find that one that we're going to keep forever,
Yeah, and,
That,
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 and that's where we're at. If we could just find someone that, had, a couple guys that just have the drive
Mm.
you know, in time it'll come. In time
Yeah.
it'll come. The three I'm blessed with now, I wouldn't talk about colleges. They're all bright young men. I won't talk to you about doing anything they want to do.
Right.
I'm blessed to have them. Wish I could have them forever.
Yeah, I
They're
know.
constantly learning. I was worried last summer that they wouldn't come back. All three came back,
Awesome.
and they're constantly learning, and it's awesome seeing them at the end of a project. They step back and look at it and say, I think one said last week he said it in the most humble way possible. This is beautiful. And I said, well, I just want you to know you did this. This is your work. You're capable of doing this. And, since they're new to what we do, here recently, this big project we're on right now, they look at the blueprints and they can't really see what we're building. And we've been building a big boulder wall here this last week. And now that we've finished it up this morning, they step back and they're like, now I see it. Now I see what we're doing. And it's great seeing them step back with a smile on their face. If we could just turn that around and find some guys, that have that drive. And then, it's almost self encouragement. They want to do better on the next one. They want to thrive on the next one. And to see that finished product. And it's not, I'm not necessarily looking for that person that can just take it over right now and be step away because that's not what I want. I want to work with that person too. If I need to step away for a day, because I have a meeting and, this afternoon, hey, you guys got 4 more hours of work. I need you to do this, this, and this. I want to be able to pull away knowing that it's going to be taken care of. And like you said, you know, double checking your work, I tell them all the time, it's like hooking a trailer up to a truck. It takes 2 seconds to get out of the truck, go back and make sure you put the pin in, because if you drive away, it's going to suck. I don't, I tell them the same way leaving a job, walk around the house 2 more times, make sure everything's nice and neat because that one thing, if it's left out of place, could hurt us on the next job or next referral. Hey, they did a great job, but they did this wrong. I don't want any of those. They did this wrong. So,
Yeah.
it's finding those people that, that'll click and they'll understand that. It'd be great. That's what we want. And I just want that person that wants to grow and thrive and find that person that not necessarily, I don't need them to have the responsibility right away, but I want them to want it eventually.
Would you ever consider doing pay per performance?
What do you mean by that?
Some guys
Or
swear by it.
you're saying like bonus?
Yeah, well, basically bonuses, but basically you pay them a percentage of revenue, and so that way they're motivated to move because if they go slow, they make less money per hour.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay,
yeah,
so we do that in a store, with the concrete curbing side because it's the curbing side's more hard labor than anything else we do. Fast paced, there's not much time for breaks. Um, so they all get a bonus for that, but they don't get it till the end of the year.
mm,
They you know, it's it's there for them, but it's also they can hurt themselves with it too. So because what we do is if if they forget a tool on the job, then the cost of that tool to replace it comes out of their bonus.
okay,
So, they're constantly aware of things that, if they back into somebody's car, which I mean, that's
yeah,
technically it would come out of their bonus, more or less. I want them to learn from it. It's why we have insurance.
right,
When there's accidents that happen, but the little things that they shouldn't miss, leaving tools on jobs or because they were being lazy and broke something, the little things are coming out of their bonus. So,
mm,
that has definitely helped with their pro with their quality.
right, with
Eh
the attention, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Some
so at
guys,
the end of the year, they're
yeah. Would you do it on time also? Like, would you consider extending that out across all your jobs? So
I would
saying like, saying
most
they,
mo
yeah.
most definitely, I would definitely it's something I really wanna keep trying to move towards and do more of. Um, I would definitely need there would have to be some more responsibility taken before we would input any of that, I would say.
Okay, yeah, yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Well, yeah, if you Google it, there's some tools for that too online that some people seem to really like. I've never used. I did it. I did pay per performance without any tools. We just had Service Autopilot, and I could run it off of that. But yeah, some guys swear by it. They say that in terms of changing the company culture to be attracting more go-getter types, that's the whole difference. Know that they know that if they work hard with you, they make even more money. And the flip side is if they're slow, they'll make minimum wage. But like one guy was saying that since he's done pay per performance, his employees are making some, I don't know, I don't know what the number would be, but I would guess maybe 20-30% more than they would be making at any other competition. And it doesn't cost him that much more because they're actually 20-30% more effective in their job. They're working that much harder. So kind of everybody comes out ahead sort of thing. So it's a neat idea. Yeah. It might be something, it might be some of the future of landscaping because the way that uh sort of culture seems to be changing and moving away from people wanting to work hard and get dirty. It might be that paper performance might be a way to attract some of the more ambitious people back into that kind of industry. So rather than saying, yeah, you're going to dig holes all day and we're going to pay you flat rate, doesn't matter how hard you work, you say, "Yeah, we're gonna dig holes all day, but if you're a good digger, you're gonna make a lot of money." That might bring a lot more
Yeah.
people back into the industry. I wonder about that.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's definitely something I need to look into because, um, is, there I stand behind, too, our quality, matching our name, as long as whatever we would put into effect, if that's something we did start doing, didn't hurt the quality of our work, then I'd
Yeah.
be all, you know,
So the way they do that, the way that I've done it too is, if the job's not done right, you get sent back, and you're not getting paid extra for that. It's still the same pay per performance. You still get the same pay for that job. So they're pretty motivated to get it right the first time because if the like just the drive time and the hassle of having to go back and fix a job, you know, basically they have to go back and fix it for free, essentially, like depending on how you have it set up. So they're pretty motivated to make sure that they don't have to do that. So that actually does seem to be pretty motivating in that sense. Yeah.
I'll have to look into that. Sure.
Yeah, neat. Well, I see we're running out of time here. Thank you very much for coming to speak to me. Were there any last ideas? Doesn't have to be earth shattering or anything that you'd like to share before we close this off.
Man, I would just say, anybody growing or, trying to move forward and do what we do, just, don't let fear get in the way. Um, that's a huge struggle, don't let it get in your way, Other than that, no, it's a great field we work in. I love it. I love it. I love the community, the relationships with customers, the guys we work together with, and just the family and the community of the business is great as well. We get to work with quite a few other landscapers too, and relationships are good there. Uh, just it's a big community we live in, so you know, just the relationships and not being fearful is, the biggest encouragement I can say.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much.